Thanks for joining me today. I'm Mel and I'm part of the church care team. Just lately I've had a bit of a hearing problem. Funnily, I realised this while reading a book. One of the lines really jumped out at me. It was this: I need to hear what God has to say more than God needs to hear what I have to say. Now I'm learning that when something grabs my attention like this, then it's good to take notice, sit with it, see what God has to say about it. So while doing that, I realised that I'd been praying about a lot of issues lately, asking for God's intervention and help, which are good things, but I hadn't been spending much time just being with God and listening for what He wanted to say. So, my hearing problem. And this is a problem, because if I'm not hearing and listening to God's voice first and foremost, then who and what am I listening to? To be honest, sometimes it's the voice of self-criticism. Sometimes it's the voice of fear, and sometimes it's all the negative voices coming through the local and world news reports at the moment. All this leaves me feeling jaded and a bit blah. I was reminded of Samuel, who, when he finally understood it was God speaking to him, said, "Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening." I wonder how often God speaks, but we don't recognise His voice, because there's so much noise around us and so many other voices competing for our attention. I also remembered Elijah on Mount Horeb, and how God wasn't in the earthquake, or the wind, or the fire, but in a gentle whisper. I often wish God would speak loudly in the wind, or perhaps right in the sky, but He seems to speak loudest when we are the quietest. God was in a gentle whisper. When someone whispers, we need to lean in close to hear. A whisper speaks to me of intimacy, of closeness, of secrets shared amongst friends. Maybe that's the whole purpose of God whispering, so that we do lean in close. To hear God's whispers, we need some solitude and silence. To find that, we need to be pretty determined and proactive. We need to ruthlessly eliminate distractions, turn off the TV, or at least move to another room. Leave our phones in the other room also. But it's not only outer distractions. I don't know about you, but when I spend time in silence, my mind starts to get even busier and noisier. Often that can be the hardest part, and that's when we can easily give up. When we push through this inner noise, wait a bit longer for things to settle, and focus our attention on God, then often we can hear His gentle whispers. Obviously we can't control God, but we can put ourselves into a position where we are more likely to hear His voice. Along with stillness and quiet, if I want to hear God's whispers, I need to open my Bible and invite the Holy Spirit to be my guide and teacher. Even this I can do in a hurry and tick it off my list. But if my goal is intimacy with God, if my goal is to hear what He wants to say to me, then I need to be able to slow down and spend time with Him in His Word. If we treat reading our Bibles as a time of meeting with God and growing in our relationship with Him, if we approach it out of a place of love and desire for Him, we're more likely to connect with Him there. Sometimes I think we turn a deaf ear to God because we're afraid of what He's going to say. But if that's the case, then it comes from a lack of understanding of His heart towards us. God's voice is love. His voice is power. His voice is healing. His voice is wisdom. And His voice is hope and joy. I know I can trust His voice. He's proved it again and again and again over many years. And in these strange, disorienting times, I need His voice even more. And I need Him even more. How about you? I hope you don't have a hearing problem. But if you do, my questions would be, do you want and need to hear Him? Do you trust His voice? If so, I encourage you and me to be proactive in fighting for those times of stillness and silence, to read His Word and wait on Him and say like Samuel did, "Speak, Lord, your servant is listening."